Again, Bernie Grimm in D.C., Mark Furnich at my left here. Mark, I'm going to start with you. Your response.
Well, this is a rare occasion where I agree with the Martin family lawyer. I find that to be a reprehensible comment, particularly given what's going in New York right now with the stop and frisk controversy. Surely everybody in the country is aware of the major trial that's going on in Lower Manhattan about the police practice here of stopping young black men on the streets of New York City with no cause. And that's a detective, an ex-detective, a representative of the NYPD making that kind of insensitive remark in this climate right now. If I understand it's television and you want viewers, but if you have that attitude, why on earth would you express that on national television? It's baffling to me.
Bernie Grimm?
Yeah, getting a fair jury in this case. I mean, I just had a trial this week. There was no way I was going to get a fair jury for racial reasons, and I ended up waiving a jury and trying the case to a judge. You don't want to do that. It's very difficult and it's very risky. But with that said, I think what we're talking about here is you have to be aware of jurors that are what we call sleepers, which come up, people that come up and say they don't know anything about the case, they think they can be fair and impartial. Those are the people I'm immediately suspicious of, because of course, if you live in that area, you'll know something about the case, unless you're living in a box with no light or sound in there. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to find a fair and impartial juror in this case. You're going to find somebody that knows something about the case that's probably leaning one way or another, and then you're going to try to seat that juror if you can get them.
Yeah, but the onus is on the attorneys to really present the facts and let people decide. And that's one of the reasons why the 911 tape is such a critical point in this, because the forensic experts will look at that audio and they'll try to say, well, was it Trayvon Martin screaming out for help? Was it George Zimmerman screaming out for help? Who was really controlling the tussle, if you will, that ended up with Trayvon Martin dead? I want to go back to this point because with the video that we just watched, we heard Mark Furnich directly respond that he thought that the comments by the former detective were offensive. But, you know, there is an attitude that goes along with kind of walking through a neighborhood. And this was, by the way, not in the middle of the night. I mean, we want to contextually play this for you in the right way that it should be. And that's, you know, it's just after dusk. But there is an attitude that people are concerned when they see people that they don't know walking through the neighborhood. And I'm asking now in the live chat, are we making too much about race in this case? I have to tell you, what we're watching on the right side of our screen here is the fact that court now, it's not in session yet with the jury selection process. We're listening to that from our control room, and they'll let me know in my ear, and we'll go straight to it live. But the judge, as she does each morning at this time, gives instructions to both sets of attorneys. You see the defendant standing there, George Zimmerman, as they begin this process. And when they do begin it in earnest, of course, we'll take you there live. But my point in all of this is saying that if you extrapolate race and you're in your neighborhood and you see somebody walking through, you don't have to be a neighborhood watchman to be concerned that that person doesn't belong there.
I'll call the police, though. I mean, if you're really concerned,
call.
Well, I mean, and the police, according to what's been leaked to the press so far, told them to stay away, and he didn't do that. Now, if I'm the defense in this case, I want to do the opposite of play the race card. I want to take race out of it, because the more you talk about race in this case from a defense perspective, the less his actions look justifiable, and the more he looks like a bigot. So if I'm the defense, I want race out of the case.
Bernie?
Yeah, Mark's 100% right. You don't need to overtly play the race card. It's out there, and you can do it in a subtle way, and a juror is going to know exactly what's going on. I mean, for me, it comes down to the facts. The guy called 911. 911 essentially said, don't do anything on your own. I mean, if the kid was white and walking through there, it wouldn't be an issue. But talk about the thug attitude. This kid went to the 7-Eleven. He bought some Skittles and a soda. I'm not sure what the threat is.
You know what? You said a couple of things there that, I mean, I don't have to defend George Zimmerman. I'm not being asked to be his defense attorney, but I am a journalist, and I see the flip side of your comments. And one of them, I would say that, you know, if you see somebody strange walking through your neighborhood, I don't care if they're purple. I think they stand out. And I've just put on the live chat, why am I the only person calling the race card overplayed here? I do think that the prosecution, Bernie and Mark, is in somewhat of a dangerous position if they do overplay the race card, because they will anesthetize the jury to it. And the jury now will no longer see it as having any benefit other than the prosecution is trying to manipulate us, almost divide us as much as anybody could be divided on this issue, and ignore the facts in the case. It could backfire quite handedly on them Just an observation from a journalist's perspective, because, you know, hoping to get those interviews at the end of the day, you want to have the best questions at your hand to play and to ask. And I would start with the prosecution by, well, what's your other game plan? Because if that one doesn't work out, you got to go with the facts on this case.